Baseball caps.
Some T-shirts and shorts.
I'm wearing I hardly ever wear a baseball cap. Do I look like a vineyard owner with it's a little frayed at the top here? And
Okay, on with the show.
all right, so we usually start our shows with a market recap, and what can I say about the last week? Last week we quoted one of my favorite analysts. He's been around the block on Wall Street. He's worked basically all the big firms. His name is Edward Yardani. And Mr. Yardani he characterized the stock market as being bipolar. It's having bipolar disorder, where the market is up 200 points one day, down 300 points the next, up 300 points the following day, down 200 points the next, and it's the market is really not finding a direction. And I'd have to say that in the last week since this show last aired, nothing has changed. We've had a lot of volatility in the market. I think it's fair to say that we are in a bear market right now. I think it's fair to say that we're in a serious recession right now. I think there's been some profit taking in commodities. The price of oil has fallen somewhat, and the price of other physical commodities like copper and a lot of the agriculturals have fallen as well. But I think the long-term trend is for paper assets to continue to fall, and that for physical assets and other hedges, bear market hedges, to continue to appreciate. That's one thing that Catherine may be speaking about in her lecture. In the last day in the market, the thing that has really, I don't know, can I say pissed off? The thing that has really ticked me off in the market is, and all of you should be mad about this. All of you should be writing to Congressman Thompson and to our senators Boxer and Feinstein about this. We have bailed out Wall Street. We have bailed out Wall Street with this housing bill, which basically is, as our two guests made the point last week, it's not a bailout of 400,000 homeowners who are probably going to be disappointed if they're still upside down on their mortgages. They're not going to get the loan to market value on their homes. So it's probably a lie that 400,000 families are going to be helped out. This bill was intended to bail out Wall Street. So what do we have? What do we have in yesterday's financial news? We have the financial news that that Merrill Lynch and Citigroup, so Merrill Lynch is the biggest investment bank and Citigroup is the biggest commercial bank, the two big behemoths on Wall Street, what are they doing? They're buying back stock. All right? So they're not taking this largesse at taxpayer expense and kind of spreading the wealth. They're buying back stock. Now this is important because corporate executives get the majority of their compensation in what's called stock option packages. So if, say, if I'm John Thain, who's the CEO of Merrill Lynch, I might get a base salary of, I don't know, $3 or $4 million, which is chump change to these guys. But I may be given a stock option package of $300 or $400 million, and as the price of Merrill Lynch stock goes up, so does my compensation. When you do a stock buyback program, what you're doing is you're taking stock out of the marketplace and you're increasing the value of shares outstanding because there are fewer shares outstanding. So these guys are using your money, taxpayer dollars, this bailout money, not to prop up the finances of their companies, to prop up their balance sheets, etc. They're using it to buy back their own stocks. And I think Bank of America is also involved in this stock buyback program. Now this is going to be important because when we talk to Mr. Slocum, we're going to find out this is exactly what oil companies are doing as well. Exxon is taking their windfall profits and they're not reinvesting it in renewable energies and alternative energy and energy efficiency and all the things that they tell you they're investing in. They're using billions of dollars to buy back Exxon stock. Why is that important? Because it will enrich the corporate executives who have stock option packages.
John, we've talked about this a little bit before. Don't you think one of the reasons, it seems like these things happen in waves, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Bohemian Grove down here in Sonoma County, where they kind of have the meeting of the minds every year, where you get all kinds of delegates and bureaucrats from different countries and,
yes,
and associations together. But it seems to me that as these things happen in waves, kind of like the media will jump on this thing right now. What's their big thing with Obama that, let's see, last week he was eating too fancy of a salad, and this week he's he's not in touch with the people, or it's some kind of derivative of that, it seems like. But in this kind of issue, do you think that this group of corporations and in general kind of high power players get together and decide, even if they don't have the money to buy back stock, to give the perception that everything is okay to the public? Because what you have is these big corporations really leading the financial markets, and they try and make the followers move. So they make the masses move when they make decisions, and the U.S. government does the same kind of thing. So don't you think that some of these big companies are really manipulating the market as opposed to doing a good, solid, fundamental buyback strategy?
Well, absolutely, but it's all predicated on this whole scam, this whole fraud is predicated on our indifference. Now, in my current article in the Bohemian, I apologize to my children and to my future grandchildren. I apologize for my generation's apathy and willful ignorance of what's going on right now in the world. How many of us out there knew that in the 694-page housing bill, there was one paragraph that raised the national debt ceiling to an historic 14 digits? Mm-hmm. My generation, baby boomers, straight up baby boomer, I was born in 1952. As long as our beer is cold, as long as we've got a warm puppy to hold, as long as our paychecks clear every 2 weeks, as long as we've got HBO, and
as long as we think we have retirement.
Exactly. Everything is cool. Everything is great. It's on this indifference that the robber barons are cleaning up.
And if you look at the spread of money, in fact, over the last 25 to 30 years, the majority of people, their income has actually gone down by a few $100s, whereas as the super wealthy, the 1% of the 1% of the top, their income has actually gone up by almost 7,000%. So you see this massive spreading of wealth, and it only makes sense because you basically have credit card companies and finance companies actually being able to charge whatever they want to in interest rates now. So you get people that don't have enough money going out and getting credit, buying houses beyond their means, whatever it may be, and paying exorbitant interest rates on this money. And that's the real control, is how you make money out of money, and that's what everybody is doing at the top, and it keeps pushing the bottom down, so you get this huge spread, and the middle class is fighting harder and harder not to be poor, is what it boils down to.
And there's a lot more bad news out there. Just, most people think, oh, we're having a housing crisis, we're having a subprime crisis. But once we get that under control, we're good to go, everything's cool. There are a lot more bubbles out there. Cheap money, the 1% money during the Alan Greenspan era, during Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan's era, was used for a lot of leverage buybacks and privatization. But I wrote about the Blackstone Group, I think, in my first article in the Bohemian, where they used all borrowed money to finance all these takeover and taking private deals.
Well, in fact, most banking institutions do that now. Now they've taken the 10% fundamental that you actually have to be an investor, and taken that off.
Correct.
Even the Savings Bank of Mendocino can loan money that they don't actually have.
Correct. So
up to almost 100% now.
That's a very important point. The banks that do these deals are not invested in these deals, and that's one of the reforms